What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Modern Warfare 2. And in today's episode, we're going to be moving ahead to the brand new SMG that came with Season 1. This is the BAS-P, also known as the SIG MPX. And starting it off as always, let's have a look at our damage profile, and with this, our base damage will apply anywhere to the limbs, but then we also have a torso damage on top of this. And it turns out this is going to be a 4 to 7 shot kill, so it does drop off very harshly at long ranges. And it's also worth noting that with that 4-shot kill, every single bullet needs to hit the torso. Even just mixing one limb shot in with torso shots will make this a 5-shot kill. As for headshots, for close to medium range, it is going to take 2 headshots mixed in with torso shots to cut the number of shots down to kill. So I'd say headshots aren't particularly effective unless you're also somebody that's hitting a lot of limb shots, in which case it could make up for the fact that you're not hitting all torso shots. But generally speaking, just try to aim center mass with this gun. As for rate of fire, this is fairly fast at 855 rounds per minute, and what this means is our 4-shot time to kill potential is 211 milliseconds. And it turns out that's actually the slowest in the SMG category. However, it is still quite fast compared to something like an assault rifle up close. Now, it is worth noting, if we manage to get 2 headshots mixed in with a body shot for a 3-shot kill, our time to kill potential is now 140 milliseconds, which is incredibly fast, but we will have a look at the recoil of this gun in a little bit, and with that in mind, you're probably not going to want to aim for the head too often. As for our bullet velocity, if you read the description for this gun, it states that it's subsonic, but based on my testing, that's not true at all. It seems to have a bullet velocity of 540 meters per second, which is almost in line with the assault rifles in this game, but it is also tied with some of the other SMGs like the Lockman Sub and the Vel 46. Next up, let's get into our ranges, and the BAS-P actually has the best maximum damage range out of all of the SMGs at 16 meters, so that does sort of compensate for it having the slowest time to kill. In a lot of ways, it's actually like an assault rifle SMG hybrid, and you'll see that come out with some of the other stats as we go through them. But after that, I did want to touch on Tier 1. Now, it turns out Tier 1 in public matches is totally different from Tier 1 in custom games, which is where I do my testing. So I've been testing around the 30 HP value that you get when you activate Tier 1 in custom games, and that doesn't appear to be aligning up with public matches. So I kind of don't know what to do here. You never really know with Infinity Ward if something is a bug or working as intended because they don't tend to communicate this stuff super well. So I'll show you the range chart here and what it looks like with 30 HP like I've been doing with all of the episodes because I'm assuming this is bugged out for Tier 1, but I guess time will tell. Just know this currently doesn't actually apply to Tier 1 public matches, and I don't know the exact health value there. A lot of people are saying 50, but I just don't know if that's perfectly accurate yet. In either case, let's move into the Hipfire, and we've got very standard Hipfire for the SMG category here. And then after that, we'll have a look at our Idle Sway, and I was actually surprised to see that it's not as bad as I expected for an SMG. We're not swaying all over the place with this, so that's actually an upside with the BAS-P. And that will bring us into the recoil. And I would say this gun definitely doesn't excel in this department. You can see it kind of zigzags its way upwards, although it doesn't lean super hard to the left or to the right or anything. It's got a lot of randomness in it. There's a lot of bounciness, and like I said, it zigzags upward, and that will definitely limit this gun at those longer ranges. It's not that this is completely unmanageable, it's just not a gun that I would call accurate. Now, let's move on to our handling stats, and this is where we really start to see that assault rifle hybrid coming in. Our aim down sight time is more along the lines of an assault rifle than an SMG at 240 milliseconds, and it's the exact same story with our sprint out time. This is assault rifle level at 210 milliseconds for our standard sprint out time and 310 milliseconds for our tactical sprint out time. So unlike the other SMGs in the game, you really have to be a lot more careful about being caught sprinting when entering a gunfight. Then when it comes to our reload add time, this is exactly 1.5 seconds, which is definitely a bit on the faster side for an SMG in this game at least. And then finally, for the base stats of this gun, let's have a look at our mobility, and our base movement speed is basically bang on average for an SMG. However, our sprint movement speed is a little bit on the slower side for an SMG, although still faster than most of the assault rifles out there. And then our aim walking movement speed is a bit on the faster side for an SMG, so we're kind of all over the board here when it comes to our movement speeds. And that will wrap it up for the base stats of this gun. However, there is one thing I want to point out here, and that is if you read the description for this gun, it does mention that it has subsonic ammo and it hides kill skulls from the enemy team. So essentially, a portion of the tracker perk is apparently built into this gun, However, based on my testing, that's just not true at all. First up, it's not subsonic ammo, and there's no way to make this subsonic as far as I've been able to tell. And second, those skulls will still appear for enemy players, so anytime there's a written description, I would say just ignore it completely. It's almost as if the people that are writing those are just making things up as they go along, because they often don't align with what you see in-game. And with that, let's now move into the barrel attachments, because the stats for those tend to be quite important. And we'll start this off with our ranges. And as we can see here, there's only one barrel that improves our range, and this is the 12-inch Bruin barrel. This improves our range values by 15%. However, when you read the description for the 10.5-inch Bruin Typhoon barrel, it states that it improves our damage range, but based on my testing, it actually reduces it by about 6%. Not a large reduction by any means, so I'm not saying this is a completely worthless barrel, but it's not quite doing what the description states that it is. After that though, let's have a look at how these barrels impact our recoil, and we can see here the first two barrels definitely reduce our recoil a little bit, and that's nice to see. Whereas the last two barrels both have an increase to our recoil. That Bruin Drake barrel is more like a horizontal increase, whereas the Thunderfire barrel is just an overall increase to all of our recoil. And finally, I just wanted to show you guys what these barrels will do to our aim down sight speeds. You can see that 12-inch Bruin barrel really adds a good amount of aim down sight times, so you definitely want to be aware of that if you're going to choose that barrel, whereas the others have a much more moderate impact on our aim down sight speed. And with that out of the way, we can now move into some excellent attachment combinations that I've got for you guys. And the first one I wanted to share is my balanced BAS-P build. With this, you definitely want to be treating it more like an assault rifle SMG hybrid, because our aim down sight speed, while I did try to manage this, it's still going to be a bit on the slower side, especially for an SMG at 275 milliseconds, but I did make a slight improvement to our sprint out time at least. The main thing you'll notice here though is I really significantly improved the recoil of this gun. And that 35 millisecond increase to our aim down sight speed is definitely worth it for this massively improved recoil, and that just makes this gun a lot more versatile, so it's not just effective within that maximum damage range. Now you can start to stretch things out a little bit, but you also don't want to be rushing around like a typical SMG. You can't really be sprinting into a gunfight with this and still be expecting to come out on top. As for the next build, on the other hand, this is for those people that want to be hyper aggressive, although I want to be very clear up front, this is a super niche build. This is not a versatile build whatsoever. You probably don't even want to challenge anybody beyond about 30 meters or so with this. But with this, I call it the hip and strafe build, because first up, our hipfire spread is incredible, and it barely even increases when we're moving around like crazy, which is a very nice benefit here. So it's excellent for hipfire. But another big benefit with this is it strafes really, really quickly side to side, and you can actually evade shots quite effectively with this, or just strafe around corners rather than having to jump shots. And if you take advantage of those two aspects, you can really find yourself dominating in more close quarters situations. At long range, you're going to struggle because, as you can see with the recoil, it is noticeably worse than the base recoil of the gun. But as long as you stick to the strengths of this gun, you're probably going to have a great time up close and personal. And with that, that's finally going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the brand new BAS-P SMG. As for my thoughts on this gun, I think it's a good sort of like all-arounder. I wouldn't really say it stands out in any particular area. I don't think it's like a top-tier meta gun, but it's very usable and it is fairly versatile for an SMG, and I do enjoy using it myself. Now, of course, that is just my opinion so far on the BAS-P, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this gun so far in the comment section down below. Also, of course, if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes of Gun Guides, I will leave a link to the playlist in the description down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.